Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm your host, as always, Katie, and joining me is my illustrious co-host, who had his baby decked out in Baby Yoda attire today, just for the occasion. Clay, how are you
It's
doing today?
it's Grogu. It's Grogu.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Did you see that clip
Yeah,
of
Pedro.
he was getting so
He was
nervous.
like,
Now
I'm gonna be shot.
now here's the thing. Here's the thing. Before we get into the GUA paperwork and all of this, why do you think he got nervous? Is he telling us
um,
something that we weren't supposed to know?
I think it's mainly just hey, Disney people don't use Baby Yoda, like that kind of thing. So I think that's all there is to it. I, I'm I don't like conspiracy theories, so just ask my
I,
mother. I ignore all of hers.
I know, I know. It's probably that, but I had a good laugh at it. But yes, I did have Amberlyn decked out in Baby Yoda Grogu outfits today. We watched both the Mandalorian and the Bad Batch this morning. And yeah, of course we're gonna be talking all about it today.
Can I just say, just again, before I do the paperwork side of things, I am disappointed that I did not get a visceral reaction from anybody on Bad Batch's episode today. But we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about it. We will definitely talk about it.
All right, y'all. Like I said, Star Wars Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network. We have 8 shows, 7 days a week, and you can read all about that in the description box below for your reading pleasure. Yes, I know we're a listening show, but we're requiring you to read. That's a little ironic, isn't it? No, I'm just kidding. Y'all, so there are 3 ways to support us as a podcast. Um, the first is via Patreon, where we have 2 tiers. The $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, any early episodes that may drop, as well as access to our live Patreon call-in show, which we don't have a date for March yet. But you can pay attention to social media as well as your Patreon inboxes to see when that will be. Um, the second way to support us is via the ads. We are an ad-supported show, ad-supported network. Claire or I will give you a warning before those ads are to occur, but just so you know now, we don't get to choose who the ads are from, nor how many times you hear the same ad in the same episode, nor how loud those ads are. So that warning is just to help you prepare your volume levels. We do, like I said, we do appreciate it. Help support the network and us as a whole. The final way to support us is rating and reviewing us on your favorite podcatcher of choice. Yes, we ask this every single time. We greatly appreciate it, y'all. Those reviews help put us into the feeds of other listeners who may not be following us on social media. So if you could find it in your heart to leave us a review, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Good Podcasts. I'm liking Good Podcasts recently. So whatever your preference is, we'd greatly appreciate it. Um, and last but certainly not least, you can contact us via social media. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A in the words. Very important. Don't forget it. You can also reach out to us on our hotline. It is 1-830-538-4828. And you can also, you're not if those 2 options aren't your jam, then you can also reach out to us via email. We do have our very own Gmail. It is Star Wars Alliance without the A and the words. Very important. Don't forget it at gmail.com. So all of our usernames are going to be the same across platforms. So also, we're going to be talking spoilers for Bad Batch season 2, episode 11 today, and The Mandalorian chapter 17, season 3, episode 1, whatever you want to call it. So if you haven't seen those, we will give you a spoiler warning before we go into those discussions. They will be at the end of the episode. But obviously, go watch them. They're available on Disney Plus, and come back because this is the place to be. Also, timestamps. Clay will be good with the timestamps today, and mark when those are supposed to be. in the
Yes, of course.
so you can read, and if you're here for those only, I don't know. But I'm here for we're here for you, babe.
Yes. So where do you want to start today? I know that we have a lot of news to talk about. Actually, you put something in the show notes that I thought I was gonna have to add. So really, really, really impressed by that. I don't know if Chris actually sent you the video or not about it today.
Oh, he did this morning.
Okay, yeah, I was just making sure. We were talking about it yesterday. So very, very cool stuff. But where do you want to
Yeah,
start?
he texted me last night at 9:25, and I was already sound asleep. So, um, well, I guess let's dive right into it. Let's talk about the comics because that is where the news piece, that you were talking about is, as I try and rearrange my new hairstyle, in my headphones. Um, so, first things first, um, we're not done with crossovers in Star Wars comics yet. I don't know how I feel about this because I'm really disappointed with Hidden Empire.
Yeah, I mean, so it was only a matter of time before Star Wars really wanted to go as heavy into like the event and crossovers as that of the, I guess, normal Marvel comics, with, of course, your
Yeah.
Marvel heroes, Spider Man, Iron Man, the Avengers, all of them, yada, yada, yada. And of course, DC Comics with all of their events as well. It was only a matter of time before Star Wars tried to dive into that, because the really big reason why companies do this as far as the publishing is if one title is not selling as much as the others, it helps with cross promotion and, of course, sales of that book. And then, of course, overall, you just gotta make either a new character feel a little bit more important in something like this, or an existing, comic character, because there's a lot of characters that are in the comics that really only stay in the comics, that we haven't really seen in live action, Dr. Afra, that, get a little bit more time to shine. So we will see how these go. But this next crossover, do they have an actual title for it though? I don't remember if they do.
I don't think so. It was a lot of what is going to be in it, was covered in Revelations, which was the one shot, in November of
Yes.
last year. And so the only thing we really have for it, is a quote. First it comes for the metal, which I believe that was in Revelations. I've kind of like erased that comic from my brain because it was like so weird. So but I believe it was from Revelations. Um, and then the crossover is going to be written by Charles Soule once again. And he's said in his newsletter, this is a big one, connecting many storytelling elements we've been playing with since this version of the line debuted over 3 years ago. It's dark, I'd say, very tonally intense. I've written a lot of Star Wars over the years and wanted to try something different here. I find that interesting. Also, congratulations to Soul today. He had 3 Star Wars comics released today. So mad props. He had Hidden Empire, Blade 3, and Star Wars 33, I think. So
Yes. Oh, well, actually, it
is it
might be
it's either 32 or 33.
32. I think it's
Okay.
32.
Okay. But yeah, mad props. That's always impressive. That he's involved in so many areas of Star Wars storytelling. Uh so how do you feel about Soul saying this is going to be very dark?
Um, it's- I don't know if I believe him. In a weird way. Um, because let's be completely honest, the Star Wars comics as a whole have never been too dark. Like it's
Mhm.
it's gotten dark to a certain level. and you can kind of just say, okay, this is kind of the same level of darkness or maturity level of reading than the movies, because you
Mhm.
have to push it a certain amount of way to make readers intrigued, but also stay within the limits of how you would if you were to release this in a movie, because Star Wars is that family friendly title,
Yeah.
So I don't know how
But
dark
this
he
isn't
thinks it
your
is.
all ages. This isn't your all ages comic.
It isn't. It isn't. But I still believe that until they start doing what DC is doing currently, which is DC currently has a certain handful of comics that on the front cover they say it is a 13 plus book, meaning that 13 and up should be reading that book. Anybody below that should not be reading that comic. Marvel hasn't done that before.
Yeah.
And I think unless you go all the way back to like their I think it was their Marvel Max series, which got really, really dark. But Star Wars was not in that line ever. Not even like I think the darkest Star Wars comics could possibly go all the way back to Dark Horse, honestly. Um, because Dark Horse was an indie publisher that normally would publish darker stories. It's just who Dark Horse is. Um, I would hope that he is like truly saying, "Hey, this is going to be a dark story." In the modern comics of Star Wars, the Marvel Star Wars, I think the darkest stories I have read have probably been with Darth Vader. Would probably be the darkest.
And that's what will be interesting to see, I feel like, when it comes down to like Vader Black, White, and Blood is supposed to premiere in April, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So I haven't read the Marvel line of that, but I know that's supposed to be tonally darker as well.
Yes.
So it could be an interesting step forward.
And it doesn't really make sense now that I think about it for Darth Vader to be what was it? It's what was the title of it again?
Black, White, and Blood.
Yeah, Black, White, and Blood. Lightsabers cauterize wounds. There is no blood with lightsabers. Like it doesn't make sense.
And that's what a lot of people said with the announcement of that run was like, what are you talking about? I'm still gonna read it because I'm a completionist. But it's also interesting to see Star Wars kind of lean more adult with what we had with Battle Scars because it was spicy. So
True. Yes, I and we did say we would appreciate more of that. Um Again, I would appreciate more if Star Wars went in that direction, but you know, to quote freaking uh oh my gosh, Freddie Prinze Jr. Star Wars is for kids. The prequels were for kids. I'm exploiting one extra word from that quote, but and then he says, and the sequel series was for kids. So I don't know if they will ever cross that line to just be like, yeah, we're gonna go there. Because honestly, in all honesty, the same way that sorry, not Star Wars, the same way DC did their Black Label, and are telling darker stories in their Black Label in DC Comics. I would want Marvel to do something like that, so you can tell a darker story with a Darth Vader, with a Luke Skywalker, with a Chewbacca. Like that would be fun. I think
yeah.
that would be something that when it gets nitty gritty in this time of galactic war, not everything is going to be for kids. So I think it would be appropriate. That's just me.
Yeah. Nathan is in the chat. He's talking about space whales. Nathan, I'm sorry, we're gonna get to that at the very end.
It
So
it'll be a while, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
yes, we'll definitely talk about it. And also, shut up. He said Ray stole everything and I'll die on that hill. And shut up.
I didn't remember her stealing anything. I didn't see her steal anything. So
All right. Well, the last question that I had for you for this crossover. Only a year takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. We've had all four of these lines, Dr. Aphra, Darth Vader, Star Wars, and Bounty Hunters, has been going on for 3 years now. Is this signifying the end of this line for the mainline Star Wars comics?
no, I don't believe so. No, I think if anything, what this now goes into is in between Return of the Jedi and Mandalorian. And then it goes between the Mandalorian and Shadow of the Sith. Like they're gonna keep pumping these things out.
No, and I'm not saying that they aren't, but we've had this is our third Darth Vader line. This is the second Star Wars line, second Dr. Aphra line. Do they bring these lines to an end and then reboot them later on? Obviously, you can't restart Darth Vader, but Star Wars and Dr. Aphra and Bounty Hunters could definitely still continue.
They could, because you never know what happens to Dr. Aphra. Because I mean, her character was literally introduced inside of a comic. The end of a Darth Vader comic would be interesting, because I mean they stopped making Darth Maul comics. I mean they eventually had to stop. I I'm almost afraid to say no, and the reason why is I am willing to bet, and this is not saying that the rest of the books are crap or anything else. I'm just saying because almost in the same vein of like Batman sells at DC, I'm willing to say that the Star Wars mainline sells and Darth Vader sells. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm willing to say will sell over everything else. I'm not saying that the other twos
Yeah.
don't, or the other 3, 4 Star Wars comics don't. I'm just saying the ones that sell more is Darth Vader and Star Wars.
And that's what I'm worried about with Darth Vader. Obviously, you can still go backwards and hit the 19 years between A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you can't keep milking this guy. Like at some point he's got to die. And we've got to tell stories that don't revolve around Darth Vader. He is the cash cow though. I'm not saying he's not.
Yep.
But I would say I think this is going to lead up to the end because the A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back Star Wars line in particular, just because I know the number of these issues of this line off the top of my head, was 76 issues. We're at 33 issues right now for Star Wars. Well, coming up on 33 next month, 32 today. So you're already almost reaching the halfway point for the Star Wars line when A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back is 2 to 3 years. So
True. Now, this does bring in the small little screenshot that I sent to you guys just like maybe about an hour ago on the Star Wars Alliance chat. We've talked about this before. We have brought it up here on the show before, but he keeps teasing it. He's done it several times on several different accounts on Twitter, and you just have to know, or I have to know, what in the world is Michael Siglane teasing? What is he teasing?
Yep.
because uh fellow Star Wars geek Jacqueline, Miss Blue Milk Mama, uh lovely baker, by the way, creator
Yes.
of snacks. Go follow
Also a
her on
fantastic person.
go follow her on Twitter, follow her on Instagram. She is a creative marvel. um
Yes.
she asked, or she said, horror story dot dot dot, what will I do after phase 3 of High Republic finishes? And then of course Michael Siglane teased yet again, don't worry, we got you covered. And with you bringing this up, I can't help but wonder, what if we jump
To the sequels.
to the sequels?
It would be interesting because Force Awakens to Last Jedi, you don't really have any time to play in the middle because we literally pick up in Last Jedi right after Force Awakens. You would
Hmm.
have to pick up in the year because it's only a year between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker
Yeah.
or after.
Hmm.
So, but you could also cover some of the time before the Force Awakens and do
Yes,
something there.
but
So,
what was the last story in Revelations? It took
oh
place.
gosh.
It was the first story to take place post Return,
No.
the Rise of Skywalker.
Revelations was done by Guggenheim. Soul's 100th Star Wars comic had the
That's what
post
it
story.
was. Yes, yes, not Revelation. Sorry, wrong one. But the 100 issue of Star Wars had the first post Rise of Skywalker story.
Yeah.
They've technically teased it. They've said, "Hey, there is a story after this." So,
Ask me after Star Wars Celebration.
we might get
If
the answer at Star Wars
it,
Celebration.
I don't think we're gonna get the answer because he said the question was, "What will I do after Phase 3 of the High Republic finishes?" High Republic Phase 3, again, we don't know how many waves it's going to be, but I picture Phase 3 of the High Republic is going to end Christmas 2024. Like,
I
that's
I
going
s-
to be the end of storytelling.
I say 2 waves. I give it 2 waves. I don't think they'll
So
go
you're
3.
thinking we're done in the summer.
Would it be? No.
Wave 1 is supposed to come this fall.
I keep forgetting that. Ah. Um so maybe 3. Holy crap.
Yes.
Holy crap. I keep forgetting phase 3 is already starting this year. Oh god. Oh Jesus.
That's why I think they brought in the extra authors for phase 2 was because they wanted the original authors to have the time to go ahead and start writing phase 3 books.
Yeah.
That's why I think we got the extra authors because you look, Claudia Gray's not doing much. She has a one-shot comic.
Yeah.
Charles Soule is doing The Blade, but and then the only one who's really got a whole lot of work under their plate is Daniel Jose Older and Kevin Sky. So
True. That's true.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking is we're gonna get it this fall at some point, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. All right, we've spent 20 minutes on this, so uh, the next comic topic. Do you want to tell us what it is?
Yes. So, our lovely co-host over at of course, World's Finest True Believers and Marvel Alliance, Chris Balga, messaged us both yesterday, um, and gave us a little wink, wink, nod, nod to something that is coming out, or news that came out today, that we are having an omnibus, and I was so happy, especially for Katie, when this is being announced. I have done the single issue thing. I am tired of the single issue thing, especially physically. I only look for trades and omnibuses now to fit on my lovely shelves. But we are finally getting a, I guess, phase one, would you, or chapter one? I can't remember what they specifically called it, but a phase one Marvel omnibus of the High Republic. This contains everything within phase
All
one.
everything Marvel.
Yes, everything Marvel. The Adventures is not included, but you have the Trail of Shadows. You have the issue 1 through 15 of the main line, and then there was the
Trail of Shadows
no, I already
and
said
Eye of
that.
the Storm.
Eye of the Storm. That's what it was. Eye of the Storm issue 1 and 2. Yes,
Yeah. We do know that there's supposed to be an Adventures omnibus coming from Dark Horse at some point this year. Which will have everything, the annuals, and the Bake Off, as well as the free comic book day issue, issue 13. Is it 13? I think it's 13. Issue 13, where we get Lula's story as Starlight Beacon is being destroyed. So, that is what that's supposed to entail. We haven't gotten an official announcement yet on that. But yeah, this is from Near Mint Condition YouTube channel, and it's supposed to be coming out October 2023. I have all of the trades, which I really enjoy the trades. However, I'm working on a display shelf for Star Wars collectible editions, and I think this will look very nice on that shelf.
very very nice.
Nathan said I'd like more Young Dooku at some point, either a book or more Tales of the Jedi. I think that's coming, especially with Yoda issue number 4. I think we're gonna get more Dooku at some point. Um, so yeah.
I think it was he was talking about as far as where we go in the comics line.
Hmm.
Um you know, stop doing Darth Vader and everything else, where would you go? And he said young Dooku. I would really love to see more young Dooku. I was really impressed by what was shown in Tales of the Jedi. So I fully
Yeah.
agree.
All right. So where do you want to go next?
Next, let's talk about all okay. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about all the stuff that we've been hearing about Mando. Uh the of course we got news on the director's list, the plans for a finale or not. Uh but this timeline, Katie, this timeline that Favreau has somehow decided makes 0 sense in this universe, of course, being Star Wars. I just I don't get it. Now, again, Favreau has clarified since the initial interview or whatever, because I do feel like he saw all the somewhat backlash of what was going on. And I just I don't understand. Help me understand, how in the world does season 1 and 2, what it was a full 2 years is what he is saying?
So what he was talking about, and the original quote, because it got manipulated, was the quote was that he was talking about he thought the 2 years gave between Mando season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett, the 2 years there gave them enough time to fully feel out the story for Grogu, Mando, and Book of Boba Fett. He did not actually state a time span for the show, and that's what he came out later to clarify it. However, and I was trying to find it, and I cannot find it. Somebody on Twitter had posted images of Navarro, which is the planet that Grief Karga is on. Navarro, they showed season 1 Navarro, they showed season 2 Navarro, and they showed season 3 Navarro. Because what I was talking about for in the trailer, I was like, "Oh, this is Batu. This is totally Batu." No, it was not. It was Navarro.
Yeah.
Um, and so they showed the transition, and honestly, it makes sense to have that time jump because you're just seeing, like, the more industrialization of Navarro and how things look cleaned up, how things have been built out. The spaceport looks better and, like, more designed.
I mean, if
Um,
you remember what Navarro looked like, it was basically it looked like a desert planet, like a dust planet. Like that's all
yeah,
it
it
was.
looked like a spaceport that had been abandoned and that they had kind of, like, found little areas to coalesce as
Yeah.
bounty hunters, basically. And Karga has turned that into something that looks a lot more refined, and clearly that's what he wants it to be. Um, so looking about it and thinking about it, yes, there's been some time gone. And obviously, like, we kind of figured that this wasn't happening over a week or whatever. Like, we knew that.
Yeah.
And I just wish they'd say it. Like, I loved so much how Andor embraced the
Yes.
timeline. I
Yes.
just want, like, a
More of that.
general, here's where this is taking place at. Like, even if you just tell me, okay, season 1 starts at 9 ABY. Season 2 starts 11 ABY. And you keep going from there. Book of Boba Fett. Here you go. That would give us so much more. And yes, you're kind of boxing yourself in, but also who cares?
Now, I will say to that comment, boxing yourself in, I was doom scrolling on TikTok to be completely honest, and I saw an interview from I can't remember who it was, but they were asking Filoni, like, isn't it time to like get away from the sandbox that we're in and like move forward? We're progressing, blah blah. He made a comment about like the fact that, you know, there's some kids or some people who have never seen Star Wars before. And so, like, being able to add on to Star Wars really doesn't matter to them. It's just continuing the story. And so it still works out in that kind of way. But even Favreau said that he likes the structure that the sandbox lays out for him. So,
Mhm.
to that comment that you made, I will say he works great in the realm of, you know, keeping himself boxed in. And he has
Okay.
said that his work at Marvel taught him that the audience is not stupid. But
Okay.
at the same time, when you look at these comments, my brain hurts and I don't know if I'm not stupid or not, you know?
Yeah.
Now, Katie, you did share one. It was clearly a joke, but in reference to all of this, a joke account said John Favreau confirms that Bo-Katan, uh, uh, Kryze is officially somewhere between 50 and 90 years old, probably more in the late 80s, early 90s by the time we reach season 4, he says. Source, he said it. Clearly a joke, but I couldn't stop laughing at this. Uh, there were so many people who were like, God damn, 90 looks great on her. And in all honesty, it's freaking Star Wars. I don't know the age of anybody, to be completely honest. Like age doesn't even matter to me when it comes to Star Wars characters because freaking Grogu is said to be 50 years old and he acts younger than Amberlyn. And Yoda at one point he died at 1,900. Like
900.
Chewbacca, I learned for the first time this year was like 100 and something years old. Like math doesn't fucking work in Star Wars. Why try to make it like for real?
Okay, but years are all the same to all those aliens. Yoda just lived a long and healthy life, and humans don't have the same age time span. So a year is all the same to people, and it's not just like, oh, well, everybody's different ages and like grows at different rates. Like, No,
I
there's a
I
timeline.
yes, there is a timeline, but I will say this: there has to be some solar systems where, like, the what is it called? The revolving around the sun is quicker and or slower than other planets, so their years may be smaller and or longer. So just throwing
Right.
that
I
out there.
found I found the comparison image, and wow, okay. Nathan, I'm sorry, all your chats are now like pouring in. They just refreshed. It's weird. Okay, so here is season 1 Navarro up here. And then here is season 2. And then here is season 3. And you can see how things have changed and developed, and it's
I will be completely honest. I did not notice a difference between season 1 and season 2.
well, you can kind of see with just like my main thing is like how clear the sky is, because we
Yeah.
know half the planet is volcanic, and so you're dealing with all of that pollution, all of that um etc. So it's the sky is a lot clearer, but you can also tell in the landscape of the spaceport. Up here, the spaceport in season 2 is gravel. In season 3, it's paved.
Yeah.
So that's like your biggest difference, is like how clean everything looks, how they've gotten um stuff just like shortened up. This was the original tweet. Was kind of, and these are terrible pictures. And Twitter doesn't like it when you do.
Yeah,
So,
no.
um yeah, I'm gonna just stop. But yeah, so that is on Mace Windu's profile on Twitter. So Nathan said they're already in the third phase of High Republic. Not yet. They will be this fall. Um and he said if it's a good story, I could go on another ride with Finn, Poe, and Ray. I'm surprised you included Ray.
The town is
And
bright and cozy now. Yeah.
yeah. And then he said, I hope I look that good at 900. Oh, this is interesting. I bet that there are some species that live and die in a year in the Wars galaxy. I could see it. I could see it.
Now, the other news in regards to Favreau, the uh did we talk about the directors list already?
We have
Or
not, because this came out this week.
okay. So the director of episode 1, Rick, I can never pronounce this last name right.
Imaiua.
Femiua, is directing both or all three episodes 1, 7, and 8. Uh, but the other 6 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 math, yeah. The other 5 directors consist of Rachel Morrison, Lee Isaac Chung, Carl Weathers, Peter Ramsey, and Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yep.
The list here, I'm honestly just really excited about Bryce Dallas Howard. She always
Yep.
does great episodes. So that's the one I'm probably looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Rachel Morrison get included in the Star Wars universe. Carl Weathers is just classic. And obviously very excited for Bryce Dallas Howard. But I'm telling you, I'm super proud of Rick Famuyiwa, and I'm so glad he's getting to helm the majority of the season at the director spot, because he's an executive producer now. Um, so he's getting the spotlight he deserves, and his episodes of Mando have been some of my favorites. And the direction in today's episode was good. It's not my complaint about the episode at all whatsoever. So
Very true. Yeah. I totally agree with you.
also in regard to, sorry, because I had forgotten because I got sidetracked. Bo-Katan being 50 to 80, she's a teenager in the Clone Wars. So she's 16, 17, 18, somewhere in that range.
Is she really?
Yeah. So she's that age. And remember, Padme in The Phantom Menace is 14 years old. So
I do remember that one. Yeah.
so Bo-Katan 16 to 18. You've got 3 years for the Clone Wars, so that puts her say in her 20s. 19 years go by, so she's 40 at A New Hope. And then you've got the 5-ish years for the movies, 45. And then you go another 4 years. So that puts her 49, 50. So she's probably 52, 53 right now. She looks fantastic.
No, like I know that. Oh shoot, I can't even remember the actress.
Katie Sackhoff.
Sackhoff. Yes. I believe she is in her early 50s. No, 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 no. I think she's mid 40s, so she could pull it off. I think. Let me actually
1980.
look here.
She's
1980. She
42.
is 42 years old. I apologize, Sackhoff. I did not mean to call you a 50-year-old.
You aged her.
Hey, either way, she would look really great as a 50-year-old. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there.
Nathan says, I thought I heard Dave say Bo was 19 in the Clone Wars. Still a teenager.
Even
But
still,
yeah.
that would make her closer to 60 right now.
Yep.
Well, no, just 3 years. Still 50. Okay, rounding 60.
I was
50s.
rounding down with
Yeah.
the math that I was doing. So
Yeah. So, yeah. But where were we heading off next? Oh, yeah, so via your notes, I want to thank Katie for making this lovely
I did show notes.
show notes today. This one was interesting. I think I'm gonna have to go with a Snell quote here. Too famous for Star Wars. Anthony Mackie wants to join the Mandalorian.
I'm telling you, he joined Marvel. I had no idea who he was. I don't think he's too famous.
Oh, no, no. I understand that. Like, I don't think anybody knew him when he was in 8 Mile. I understand that. But the fact that he is Captain America right now, sorry, can't be in Star Wars.
But I don't think he would have been Captain America. That's the thing, because he said he applied for the Mandalorian role, which was a couple years ago. He still wants to get in Star Wars at some point, but obviously he doesn't think that's going to happen right now. This is from the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast.
Yeah.
And he talked about it, and he was like, I got the helmet. I could walk up there right now and like kill this audition. And he talked about how he had, I think he said he had the nickname Lando for a while, and how Star Wars means a lot to him. So it was a cool piece from, because I read it on Star Wars Newsnet. So thank you, Star Wars Newsnet, for transcribing. So
I still think he is too recognizable. He has too recognizable of a face for Star Wars. And I understand, like, people probably look at Liam Neeson in Star Wars and being like, hey, why is the Taken guy in Star Wars? Like, I understand that there's recognizable faces or recognizable voices in Star Wars. But when you have somebody so close to home, Marvel, Star Wars, all under the Disney umbrella, I just don't think it can work. The same thing goes for like people wanting Brie Larson in Star Wars. I just don't think it's gonna work. Again, freaking Samuel Jackson was in Star Wars before he was in Marvel, and he was way famous even before Star Wars. Like I understand that it can work for some. I just don't think it can work for all.
Nathan says, ugly him up and he's fine.
Jesus Christ. You know what? Give see,
Put him in an alien costume.
but see, I don't agree with that either. Because
Why
he's
not?
a person of color. Like for me, like I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, you could be a Star Wars if you're an alien. Like unless they completely agree of
That's completely fair.
like if they want to put him in a cameo role where he is just like a character for like literally a few seconds on screen just to be like the whole like Daniel Craig thing. Oh, I was in Star Wars once, you know? Or Joseph Gordon-Levitt being in Star Wars, like you couldn't tell it was him. But you could
Yeah.
always have that story of like, hey, I was in Star Wars. But if they're gonna make him an ongoing character, don't make him an alien.
Yeah. That's
So
completely fair.
that's my thing. Next we have oh, Andor. Do you have the story on this? Because I did not see this.
So this was just an Instagram post. Um, and Janice Metz like showed like the helmets of the stormtroopers and everything. And basically it was just like we're in the middle of shooting right now. That's it. He's in charge of one of the 3 episode arcs for Andor season 2. So that's all there was. It was just kind of like a filming update. So
All right, cool.
um for the Acolyte, we did get director announcements, which I was super surprised about. Um and I say director announcements, they're coming from Deadline, I think. So we have After Yang director Kogo Nada is directing at least one episode. And one of the directors for The Witcher, Alex Garcia Lopez, also is directing an episode. And this is old news, but I didn't know this. Leslie Headland is directing at least the pilot, but she may be directing more. So
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. So far, other than I believe Andor was directed by the same person all the way through, right? Correct? Or no?
no. Um, none of the shows have been directed by the same person all the way through.
But
They
they
do have a
have,
showrunner. So they
yeah.
have a showrunner, but not yeah.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong again. There has always been at least one person to direct at least 2 episodes, and it's usually like either a direct connecting story or the first and last episodes, right?
Like you're talking about like the showrunner directing the first and last episode. Is that what you're kind of saying?
I think so. Not just with Andor, but with like the Mandalorian as well, and other
Yeah,
like Obi-Wan
so
Kenobi and everything.
I don't know about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I can look that up real fast.
Okay,
But for Mandalorian, I know Favreau did not direct the first and last episode for season 1 because Taika Waititi had the last episode.
that's right.
Um so here we go. We got the Kenobi TV show. Deborah Chow directed all of the episodes for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay,
Um
okay, cool.
and I think that was because it was more limited series.
Then
So
yeah,
there's that. Let me look at Mandalorian season 2.
I can't
Because I
remember who
think
directed the last episode of season 2.
I think Favreau did. Okay, no, Peyton Reed did.
Okay.
Um, Favreau previously has directed an episode in all of the seasons. Because oh no, I'm sorry, he didn't direct an episode in season 1. So, excuse me, I'm lying to you.
Oh, look at that. That's surprising. Uh no, but for some reason I just felt like we said, Rick Femu blah, blah, say the last name again. I cannot do it. Rick Famuyiwa, right? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I thought that was a little bit more common with the Star Wars shows, but apparently not. So
Yeah, I believe Tony Gilroy had like the first and last arcs for Andor, but he's not directing in season 2. He said
okay.
he just wanted to show run in season 2.
All right. Um, well, uh, so I did not see this article. You put the very next story that we have is Andy Serkis was disappointed in the Last Jedi script. What is this about?
All right. So this was an interview with British GQ. And y'all know I don't typically like to harass on The Last Jedi, and I know Nathan's gonna be like, "Oh, you're insulting The Last Jedi here." Um, he's not gonna do it like that exactly, but whatever. Um, he said, "Let me just phrase it like this. When I went in to read The Last Jedi, I spent the first 30 pages thinking, this is the most incredible character. Then I turned the page, and then Snoke gets sliced in half, and I was gutted. Gutted."
I mean,
Um,
literally and figuratively, probably.
um, and so he just said basically he wanted to have more time as the Supreme Leader because he thought it was a really good character. He said the article talks about uh Circus's dislike for the scene goes far beyond mere fandom. Rather, he actually helped create the character, investing his creativity in a figure that he had hoped would be around for a while. I actually really love that character, admitted Circus, and I'm putting it out there. I wouldn't mind it if he came back. Um, and then he
I
talked
mean,
about Andor.
I will say this. He technically did come back because Snoke did end up being the correct fan theory that everybody had, being a clone of Palpatine. Palpatine came back in The Rise of Skywalker, so in turn, kind of, he came back without having to play the role. There you go. Win-win.
I mean, that's true, but also with some of the stuff that's happening with Bad Batch and potentially with the Mandalorian,
That is
we
true.
we
We
could
we
see it.
could we could possibly see him come back. But what did he have to say about Andor?
He said, "I think it was a masterful piece of TV making. I love that grounded Star Wars world. Not that I don't like the more operatic style, because I do like that too, but it's nice to see it explore the murky end of the swimming pool."
I
Nathan
like
said, "Pickled Snokes."
Pickled Snooks. Uh, I I I will always love Circus's role in Andor. I think that his one line at the end, "I can't swim," I think that will always just stay with me forever. It was
Yep.
such a great scene and so heartbreaking.
Yep. Circus killed it.
Now, I think we can finally say that we are finished with the news. We're jumping into main topics an hour into this episode. Um, but which one
I'm
do you want to
sorry,
go with
Abby.
first? Which one do you want to go with first? Do you want to jump into Bad Batch or Mandalorian first?
I want to talk about the thing that came out in the Bad Batch because
Okay,
this is
so
the thing. This is the thing that
okay,
I was
so
like screaming about, wanting to talk about for how long has it been now?
almost a
Oh, it's
month.
only been 2 months. It's been 2 months
It's been
since
2
I've
months since
seen it
you've seen the Jesus.
because
Okay.
it was the end of
Well,
December.
oh, that's true. That's true. So let's go ahead and jump into the Bad Batch. And I will be completely honest, full disclosure. Um, the reason and the discussion of the Bad Batch is kind of the reason why I was late to the podcast today because I knew I had seen that thing somewhere. And then Tech said, "Oh, it's that thing that attacked Coruscant." And I was like, "What?" And I went scouring through Disney Plus to find this thing. And I
You should
finally
have
found it.
texted me. I would have told you the exact episodes.
Well, I had a lot of stuff to do today. So I didn't get to it until literally before the podcast, and I was even 5 minutes late to the podcast. So that is why I was late. But yeah, so Bad Batch
Please.
season 2, episode 11. This one was called uh Metamorphosis, and it reintroduces The Zillow Beast. This was wild. Um, I like I said, I did not know what it was in its smallest form. I was like, what kind of freaking xenomorph alien predator thing is this thing? Um, I should have like something clicked as soon as I saw the trooper in the beginning of the episode with the electro staff. I was like, that's significant. It's got to be doing something. It's this is significant somehow. Um, and boom, it's the Zillow Beast. Um, this I I'm kind of angry at like you said, a lot of the teases. We just recently had this discussion again over at the Geek First Discord, so please go check that out. You can join in on all of our conversations. I had to break the news to Taylor about how much I despise freaking Timothy Zahn's version of Thrawn. And do you like there was another tease in Mando that we'll get to later on in this episode. Um of 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 all of that. Like I think it is like something with the Zillow Beast and cloning and all of this other stuff. It's getting me more and more worried that and this is wild for me to say worried that Heir of the Empire might actually become canon in some way, shape, or form. I don't
But
know how I feel about it, Katie.
I also think you're not gonna get that Thrawn exactly. I think you're gonna get more of a Rebels Thrawn in a movie version because they want to make him more palatable. So I don't think you necessarily have to worry.
Oh, you're telling me I'm not gonna get how did I described it in a way for Taylor. I said that basically Timothy Zahn is only a puppet to the god of Thrawn that is an heir to the Empire. It's stupid how omniscient he is in that book. And I really don't need that Thrawn being here in either The Mandalorian or in Ahsoka in the future. Like,
Well, you're gonna get Thrawn in Ahsoka,
oh, I know
so
I'm gonna get Thrawn in Ahsoka. I just don't want that Thrawn in Ahsoka. You know?
yeah.
But how did you let so you said you really wanted to talk about it when you saw it for the first time. But what was your like legit reaction to seeing the Zillow Beast again?
I said, wait a second, because okay, we walk into this episode and it's like a full horror scene on steroids almost with like the electricity's out on the ship, like the lights are flickering and you see the claw marks and it's just like, oh crap. And I was like sitting here like this. And then Matt goes, Katie, it's not that bad. It's an animated show. It's not going to be that bad. And so I open my eyes and everything, and we're watching, and then you see the little beast come out with the clones, and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, what? And then like I didn't believe it when he was so small, but then we got to the power grid with the little town, and you get the big Zillow beast in his full glory. And I literally paused it and started jumping up and down. I was like, holy shit, Zillow beast. And Matt was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, it's beast. And he was like, I don't know. And what are you talking about?
Well, so here's the thing for me. I almost forgot this creature exists because whenever I decide, hey, I'm gonna rewatch Clone Wars, which surprisingly happens more often than not, I skip the first 3 seasons. The reason why is because I think the first 3 seasons are so flippin' boring. And it has some of the like majority of like the Jar Jar Binks episodes and the R2D2 C3PO episodes. Like I try to skip all of the nonsense and get right to the like nitty gritty, like good meat stories, the meat and potatoes of the Clone Wars. And so I start with season 4, always. So when I saw the Zillo Beast, I was like, this is something that I've seen before. This exists in Star Wars. It's not just something that they're making up right now. So I had, like I said, scoured through. I went to season 1, scrolled, nothing there. Went to season 2,
You also
scroll.
Googled Zillo Beast Clone
Oh,
Wars.
I could have. It would have made my life so much easier. But of course, me being me went the hard way. It is season 2, episode 18 and 19. It is the Zillo Beast, and then episode 19 is uh
The
Zillo
Zillo Beast
Beast
Strikes Back.
Strikes Back. Yeah. Which I thought was absolutely hilarious. But we find out in Metamorphosis, Bad Batch season 2, episode 11, that this is a clone of the Zillo Beast that
Because
was
they
at
killed it
Coruscant.
in season 2, episode 19.
Yeah.
It was dead. And so they accomplished it. They fully, because you see at the very end of episode 19, like, clone the Zillo Beast is on the doctor's orders. And so they accomplished it. And this is like, I was like jumping up and down because I was like, I don't ever think we're gonna see that again. Like, I feel like this is such a dumb thing to include and not like detail more on it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, like, I didn't watch Clone Wars when it aired. I watched it during college. But it was like still like, this is dumb. Like, come on. Like, we're really doing like this whole like, oh yeah, throw this in here. But I was so excited because I never, like, we go through all the discussion about, I think we did this last episode, as a matter of fact, where you were saying, I don't think anyone in the story group's that smart. I was totally thinking at the end of those Clone Wars episodes, like, no one's smart enough to have the Zillo Beast come back.
Yeah.
This is why the
And
story group is smart.
it was a nice surprise. Again, this does show that the Empire, that Palpatine, is in fact wanting to still work with clones. He is inevitably trying to see how he will survive the number one enemy that he has, which is time. Like that is something that
Yeah.
is, just there. Um and so seeing this, I think it's really fun. I know that if they do in fact decide to go that route with Heir to the Empire, with Jedi Master, help me with the name.
Joris Sabath.
Yes, if they want to go that route as well, that, everybody will scream and go crazy. I think it'll be cool as well. But there's that lingering Thrawn shadow just waiting right there, and I'm just like, oh no.
So we've been over this. Nathan said, so you hate Thrawn but dig Batman. Thrawn is
Nathan,
space Batman.
Thrawn is not Space Batman because, so do you know who Thrawn is? Thrawn is the Batman who laughs. So if anybody knows anything about DC and the event of metal and everything else, they made Joker into Batman and then made him a god. And that, I think, is stupid. When you make somebody so powerful that, like, before you even start thinking, they know what you want, like what your whole plan is, like that kind of thing is dumb. Like, just saying, oh, there's no way you can defeat me, it makes everything boring and stupid. I don't like it. The way that Thrawn explained things in the 2 books that I have read so far is he explains it, and there is literally no reason why he should ever think those things with Han and Chewie and Luke and Leia on literally the opposite side of the galaxy, with no other way of anybody ever hearing their words. And in his head, Thrawn's like, oh, that's what they're doing. Like, he just knows. And I think that is stupid.
Nathan, I think I made the mistake of not easing him in with the dumber Thrawn that is the canon Thrawn. because that was your introduction, and we've had this discussion on all of our Thrawn reviews. Make sure you go check them out. Nathan and I did Thrawn Ascendancy, as well as I think we talked about like the original Thrawn canon trilogy. Um, I do think David was right last week when he was like, you should do the Thrawn Ascendancy books. But I think you need to finish out this trilogy and just kind of see where the story's going. So then you can be done being pissed about it and just go, okay, this is the story. I've read it. I know I don't have to read it again. Now give me
I
other Thrawn.
Yes, I will definitely finish. Like, I can't just read 2 books and knowing there's only one more, just leave it hanging. Like, no, I'm going to finish reading the trilogy. I will see how it goes. I may not go straight into the canon Thrawn story until after Ahsoka. I think
just
that
so you
might
don't get
be
just so you don't get more pissed about it.
exactly. Exactly. Like as long as I know for a fact that like on screen canon Thrawn is the Thrawn that I want, and just like reading canon stories, it's just like, but I got him here too, so it's all good. So like, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
We'll get you there. We'll get you there eventually. But no, this is also a very dark episode for Star Wars, but I think it's one of the best of Star Wars animation, really, because it shows you that dark side of the Empire. And it continues that overall theme of holy crap, the Empire is actually doing this. Because you see the town, and the town is running into issues. They've got the Zillo Beast and all of the ships firing at the Zillo Beast, and then you see all of the clone ships land and go, oh yeah, we're taking all these people away. They're going to prison camps or they're going to die because the Empire doesn't want anybody talking about how the Zillo Beast is alive.
Yeah. This
And
was
like,
wild.
it's 30 seconds of them being toted off on these ships, but it's like, holy crap.
I was a little surprised by that. I will be completely honest. Whenever I was watching it the first time, uh, I had Amber Lynn in my arms, and she was kind of going crazy, trying to climb all over me, doing all sorts of stuff. So I missed the first initial like witnessing of the Zillow Beast, and so all I saw was the Empire taking these people in. I'm like, why are they freaking imprisoning these individuals? And so I rewound, saw that they witnessed the Zillow Beast, and then it goes even further at the end of the episode where they're having the discussion. Oh, was there any witnesses? Yes, but we have them all gathered. Uh, there was one ship, military grade, that did get away, and they're like, okay, make sure you find it and capture them or whatever. Um, so again, it seems that our Bad Batch is being hunted for 2 reasons now. Um, and do you I guess you can't even flip and answer this question because you know the answer. Um, but I'm just going to ask the audience. Do we think that they're going to bump into the Empire and them actually know, oh, this is the crew that we've been searching for? Like, I want to know, how does this all come to a head? You know? Uh Katie's trying so hard not to give any reaction to me right now. It's so great. Um I I I don't know what to expect with the next episode or with the next, what is this? We have 5 episodes left, 4 episodes left.
Yeah, so we're going. I've seen through episode 14 and this was episode 11. So
Oh crap!
there's
There's only 4 episodes left because
no,
there's
so I've
15,
seen
right?
through episode 14 and then there's 2 episodes in the season finale.
Oh, okay. So 5 episodes left. I Do you know what we haven't seen? We haven't seen much of Crosshair yet. So
Correct.
I you're like, oh, can't say that. I I I want to see what he is up to, and like I'm still predicting, like I did in the very first episode of our review of this season, is I still think they're going to once again have an episode where they bump into Crosshair. Like I think that it's kind of inevitable. There was a mention of Rex and
What's
uh
this picture?
oh yeah, that's of that's funny. Uh I guess you would have to thank. I think that's Kirkland or Travis Snell's doing. But I would say that uh, what I was trying to say was they mentioned Rex and Echo in this episode, so uh, I'm sure, of course, Rex is going to have all of that information. He's going to remember because he was there during the attack of the Zilla Beast. So I think that's going to be very interesting to learn a little bit more about that on the side of the Bad Batch. But yeah, things are getting kind of more. What's the right word for it? Interesting is too low. I don't think interesting does it justice. But I am very excited either way for the
Yeah,
ending of the
because
series or a
yeah, because
season.
we had Mount Tantus back in play today, so it took us 11 episodes, but we finally went back to Mount Tantus. We did get to see Nala Se. We got to see the Prime Minister for Camino. And we got to see the introduction of Dr. Hemlock. What did you think of Dr. Hemlock?
Hemlock was which one was Hemlock?
He's the new lead of Mount Tantus.
Oh, that's right, that's right, that's right. The one with the little scar on his eyebrow. Um, he he is almost like a who was the one that got arrested in the last episode? The admiral? I can't remember. Was it last episode? The episode before that?
Maybe 2 episodes before that, because it was in the mid-season.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about though.
He
Um,
just sounds like another one of him, and so I think I'll get annoyed with him very very quickly.
well, I'm excited to see what you think of him, in upcoming episodes. Um,
All right.
but yeah, so we got that, um, and then we got a confrontation with Sid at the beginning of the episode.
Yes, that's what I wanted to bring up. This stupid bee. I'm tired of her. You know, I think it was you that really opened my eyes to the idea of like they need to get rid of this woman. She was like, "Oh, like y'all are back." Yeah, like trying to be all chummy chummy with them. They're like, "Yeah, no help from you." She's like, "What are you talking about? We're all good. We're Gucci. Let's go make some money. Let's go steal some stuff." And she was like, "Oh, I actually heard about this ship. It crashed. You know, I'll be so generous to give you guys 30%." Tech was like, "That's what you give us already." She's like, all right, I'll be extra generous, 35. They don't say anything. She's like, okay, 40. They still don't say anything. She's like, fine, 50-50. And then they have a small little conversation when she ends the comms with them of like,
Well, okay,
okay,
but important thing to note. She says, "Don't come back unless you have the goods." She says
okay,
that.
yes, she
I just
does.
want to call attention to that.
I wonder why.
I just
I
wanted to
wonder
call
why.
attention to it.
Yeah. So she says that she ends the comms, and Tech says being on her bad side would be bad for business. That being because she knows who they are. She knows that they're, you know, running from the empire, and it makes me so angry to think there is still a possibility that if they cut ties with Sid, being the scummy person that she is, not wanting to deal with the empire, would actually call the empire on the Bad Batch. Like that's a possibility, and that angers me.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
I'm so glad I didn't like her in season 1 because I think that just, like, kept me with it, like, in season 2. I can't stand her. I think she's a terrible person, and yeah.
And I think even Omega is starting to see that a little bit.
Yep.
Because even she, the person who was always on Sid's side, like, hey, maybe we can make this work, blah blah blah. Even she was kind of not latching out or lashing out uh to Sid, but she was like, okay, like she was actually voicing concern as well. So I think that by the end of this season, if there is a third, uh, it will not be with Sid, I think.
I have comments. I can't say it yet. So,
You know,
remind me in 3 weeks.
Disney, I'm just gonna say this. This makes the conversation harder. So if you would just share those screeners with the both of us, that would make things so much easier. Okay, thanks. Bye. Um
I'm sorry, Clay. I'm sorry. Hey,
no,
but if it makes you feel better, this has been a great conversation because I finally got to talk about the Scylla Beast. So,
but one thing that both of us saw for the first time today, I would hope. Please tell me that you don't have screeners for
I
Mandalorian
do
because
not have screeners for Mandalorian,
all
and
right,
the only screeners I did see people commenting on Twitter about screeners, they only have screeners up to episode 2 right.
that's what I
So,
saw as well. Yes. So, not too many spoilers for the season, but there of course is spoilers out there for episode 2 already. But we will be talking about Mandalorian season 3 episode 1. This I'm going to go ahead and rip the band-aid, Katie.
I see your comment in the Geekverse chat. I am in agreement with you. This was meh.
This episode was meh. And I will say it as well. This new composer, I
I was
don't
not a
like it.
fan. I
I
was
don't
not
like
a
it.
fan. We saw the helmet thing flashing at the beginning, and I was like, "No, I don't like this. What is this?"
No, so I didn't notice it there. Do you know where I noticed it the most?
Where?
The firefight in space in the asteroid field.
Okay.
That, like, this new composer wanted to use the Mandalorian theme, but he wanted to make it his own way too much. And in all honesty, Disney should have just said, "Hey, Ludwig is still going to be the composer. He's just not making any new music, and just use all of the old music from season 2 and season 1." That's what they should have done, because this was so bad. It like I saw the stuff that was happening on the screen and I was like, this is visually awesome. I like it, but the music is really not vibing with me.
I So the biggest times where I pay attention to music is at the beginning of the show and at the end. And there might be cases like in the middle where I'm like, oh, this is really good music. This is helping so much, or this is really trash music. So I did not notice the music in that scene. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch and pay attention. And just kind of see. But yeah, I was not a fan. And of course, Ludwig still has the ending credits theme. That is still the Mandalorian theme. No need to panic. Um, so yeah, so there was that. Um,
Okay,
we already said this, but the direction of the episode was great.
yes, direction of the episode was great. Another thing that made no sense to me, the very, very random, chaotic scene that we opened up to, like the ceremony with the Mandalorians. Great. But then all of a sudden it becomes into like a, hey, let's fight this giant beast. And I'm just like, I don't need it. And it's kind of like it doesn't do anything to progress the story at all. It's just, hey, we're Mandalorians, we're gonna be badasses, we're gonna fight this thing. Oh, and of course, our Mandalorian Din Djarin is gonna come and save the day. Like it, it was so random.
So I'm gonna kind of disagree with you there. I agree the fight with the crocodile turtle thing was drawn out too much. However, I think they wanted to play it off like it could have been a flashback with Din Djarin taking his helmet for the first time to really kind of get the process going along of the apostate, which is the name of this episode. And that he was committed to the cause from a very young age. He was committed to the cult. Um, and so I think that's what they were going for was this is a flashback until it's not. But it makes you think in that direction of, oh shit, this is Din. We're getting to see him take his helmet for the first time, blah 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 blah. And then all this shit happens.
See, at the same, like I could somewhat agree with you, but the armorer is the same armorer. Like, so that's what kind of for me was like, this isn't a flashback, you know? So that's why it
But the sorry, I'm interrupting you. I think that's the benefit of the armor though, is that anybody could be behind that. Anybody. We've never seen the armorer's face.
true, true, but it's the same voice. It's we both, Katie, me and
I
you
know it's the
both,
same voice.
we both know that voice from Supernatural. So like
Did you
we
know
know. Oh, go
Did
ahead.
you notice Paz Vizsla was not voiced by Jon Favreau this episode?
I did notice that, but it for me, the scene didn't quite fit the rest of the episode for me. Like I get the idea of, okay, this is ceremony, this is very important. This is of course going to lead us into the quest for the holy waters of Mandalore, in the mines or whatever, and this is what's going to start off the quest. I get that, but for me personally, I think we could have done without it, or at least we could have seen the ceremony without the giant fighting of the crocodile turtle. Either one would have worked for me.
Yeah. Uh, and like I said, I'm in agreement with you. I think the crocodile fight went too long. Um, Plain and simple. I I think that's really my only complaint in terms of pacing for the episode. Otherwise, um, this is like I really need Favreau to bring in a writer's room at this point.
Yeah.
Um, and this was one of the most poorly written episodes, I think.
Speaking about poorly written, um, of course, like we said, we get the quest from the armorer. Din Djarin shows her the crystallization of the rock that was on Mandalore. He said that he got it from an individual that has been on the planet before. So that is what gets him at least motivated to say, hey, it's a possibility that this is still a thing. I can go and I can become a Mandalorian again, right? So we get that, but then we go see, of course, oh shoot, what was the planet again? That Carl Weathers is on. It is
It's
Navarro.
Navarro, but
Navarro. Uh, when we go to Navarro, there's a scene in particular that if it was any other show, I think I would have turned off the show.
are you gonna complain about the Anzellans?
No, no.
Okay. Okay. What are you
I'm gonna complain about. That's one way to use your head. That line was so cringe in my mind. I like I said, if it was any other show, I think I might have turned it off. There's a moment where they take the droid from, of course, the first two seasons, uh, and for
the
some reason,
E11?
yes, for some reason, Din Djarin's like, this is
He was
the
only in season 1.
only in season one. Sorry, uh, he says, this droid is the only droid that I trust. This is the only droid that I trust. This is the only thing that can help us make our quest. And so they take the parts from the statue that's in the middle of Navarro. They try to wake him up. And when they do, he goes back to his original programming and tries to kill Grogu. Of course, this goes into, throwing Grogu and keeping him away from IG-11. And when freaking Din Djarin might as well just be a freaking stormtrooper, can't shoot anything for shit when it's literally 2 feet in front of him. The droid that was the right hand of the High Magistrate, that that was the one thing also that uh uh he was trying to beat into everybody. It's not just magistrate, it's High Magistrate. But
We're classy now.
the droid pushes the statue of the bust and it lands on IG-11's head. And that's when Din Djarin says, that's one way to use your head. Cringiest line in the entire episode.
I laughed. I didn't care about it whatsoever.
It was not for me. It was not for me.
Yeah, it did bug me. What do you think about them trying to bring IG-11 back? I understand it because, like, that was a whole thing in season 1 where he was like, I don't like droids. I don't trust droids. And then IG-11 made him trust him in the season finale of season 1.
I understand the wanting, the practicality though. That's what I was just like, this is uncalled for. Like, you could literally get any other droid. Or, in all honesty, do you absolutely need, I mean, yes, the reason why, and let's be completely honest, you just got to use your cabeza a little bit, your brain here. The reason why he wants a droid is to test the air quality of Mandalore to see if it's poisonous. Like, that is the only reason why I could think that he wanted a droid to go with him, so he wouldn't have to test it himself and then possibly get killed. Like, boom, easy as that. But for me, I'm just like, dude, like, Favreau said it himself. It's been like 2 or 3 years throughout this entire show. You could have found at least one droid you can trust. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially, I think it leans more like PTSD because of him, like his parents being killed by a separatist droid army. And so I think that's where his distrust of droids stems from, is there.
I could
So if it's
I can
childhood
understand
trauma,
that. I could understand it, but I mean, I would think that in a way, what happened at the end of season 1 would help a little bit with possibly trusting other droids. But I can understand if they went that route, and if they explain that, then okay, yeah, I can definitely understand it. Now, from there, we do get the whole thing with the pirates, though. How'd you feel about this? We get the scene in front of the school. I want to say makeup department on this show, amazing. Van, is it Van, the pirate Van, I think is
Bane.
the Vane.
And this is something that I just had a comment on. Because a lot of people on Twitter were like, "Oh, well, we just throw characters in here and we don't name them when we could be connecting to other things." They actually did give this guy a name. I saw a couple people on Twitter that was like, "Oh, this is just the pirate Nikto." Uh, they did give him a name,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think he looked great. I love the way he looked. I love the way, like, how smooth his skin was and everything. Uh, Great prosthetics. Um,
Yeah.
but the idea that Navarro is now an established, respectable place and not a place for pirates. Not only that does this play a part in the like third act, or the space fight, like I said earlier,
Yeah.
but I feel like it will bite them in the butt later on in the season, because I feel like what this show does very well is they start pieces of storytelling in episode 1, and it all comes back together by the end of the season.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? Do you think this I can't even remember what the big dog pirate name was.
Borean something.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just keep thinking of the Dread Pirate Roberts. Um
I know. I did I did totally see him and go, "Did they just make Drin Gear canon? Like, did the Drin Gear, like, metamorphosize into
I
where
mean,
they have legs and stuff?"
he did look like Swamp Thing. Like he
Oh, yeah.
was wild looking. Uh but I do think this is something that could be a reoccurring problem for Dinjarin throughout the season. If he has somebody that is like, if these pirates are truly like Vin Diesel and family, then hey, you just like, because they keep mentioning it. Oh, you just destroyed 4 of my pirates. Oh, you just destroyed 4 of my fleet. Like, they are very personal with this. I think they might be following him for a while in this season.
I don't know if they'll necessarily follow him, but I think it's gonna come back to bite him, like you said. Because I think we've seen he's got a lot of um speed in his ship, and hyperspace tracking, as we all know and love, is a thing, but it's not actually a thing because you need the technology to do it. So I don't think he's gonna be okay. My headphones say they're dying, of course. Um, they're at 30% according to my computer, but we'll see.
We'll make this
Um,
quick. We don't have that much to talk about. One other comment that I wanted to say
okay.
before you go is, like, for me, Grogu, super cute throughout this episode. Just literally being the child that he is, spinning in the chair, getting snacks, playing what he thought was with dolls, giggling throughout the space fight. I think all of those really worked for me.
Yeah, I think he's doing well. And I kind of feel like he's growing and he's maturing. So I like that transition. And it's another indicator of like the time span. Um, there's a thing that we have to talk about, obviously. And it's the Purgles. It's the Purgles.
Well, what did you think of the Purgles? What, like?
I did basically the same thing I did with the Zilla Beast. I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's a Purgle!" Except I didn't pause it because I was like, "It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not gonna do that." But I was like, "It's the Purgles," and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's more Purgles! There's more Purgles!" That was it.
They were a nice addition. The fact that now, correct me if I'm wrong, Purgle was the space whale, right?
Correct. The space whale that can travel through hyperspace, because that's
Yeah.
where we see them in this. Grogu
And
is looking through the droid port.
and I will say this. I saw it, my jaw dropped, because for me, yes, we all know canon that these things travel through hyperspace. But for me, it's just one thing teasing the eventual of seeing freaking Ezra on screen, and seeing, like,
Yeah.
getting to Ahsoka. Like, and we've been waiting for Ahsoka. And like, just seeing it here, like, quote unquote, in live action, even though it was hazy as hell within hyperspace. There was, like, I'm gonna be really upset if they don't show it actually on screen. Like, I feel like they have to.
You're talking about you want to see them show Ezra and Thrawn getting taken off at the end of Rebels in live action.
Not necessarily, no. But, like, I feel like there is such a big connection between the Purgles and the Rebel crew, like, just
Yes.
with the show in general, that, like, I want to see them not traveling through hyperspace. Like, I want to
Y
see them
yeah.
just there, and,
I
like,
am I'm gonna lose it if we get to see a Purgle that close. I would love to see them translate the Purgle to live action.
but the thing is, I doubt it because I feel like that's, like, freaking Avatar budget worth of CGI, you know?
They just did a large crocodile. It's the same size.
I think it's gonna be bigger than that, Katie.
I'm talking about in proportion to the screen.
Correct, correct. I think you're right, and it could be a possibility, but I do wanna see it on screen. I do wanna see a live action Purgle. It was something that I like I said, my jaw did drop. And like I said, it reminds us, "Hey, Ahsoka's just around the corner. It's right there.
Yep.
We're going to see them. It's gonna be so
Fall
good."
2023, baby. Hopefully.
But, to like I said, because we don't want your headphones to die here, wrapping this up, Din Djarin goes to oh, shoot, which planet was Bo-Katan on?
Kalevala, which
So
is
go
a
ahead.
planet in the Mandalore system.
Okay. So they okay, so he goes there, he's telling Grogu all of these different things. He's like, "Okay, and that is a Mandalorian castle." And they land, he goes, she is so freaking depressed. No lights, no fixtures, no furniture except for this chair that she is widespread on, just like letting everything hang loose. And she's just sitting there moping because she's a giant baby because she lost her little sword, her saber, sorry. Uh Gosh, flashbacks to battle scars, scary. Um and she is legit moping the entire time Din is talking to her. Oh, well, they just did this, and oh, well, I don't have a fleet anymore. I don't have an army. You want to have your own army? You have the dark saber. Go wave it around, they'll follow you. Blah, 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 blah. Like,
See, I needed a glass of like Corellian whiskey in her hand because she was drunk. Like that's what this felt like. Oh, you want it? Like you've got the dark saber. Go do it yourself. Like I feel like this scene has been somewhere where
I
where
could,
the person who was moping was drunk.
I would have liked that a little bit more. Now, again, we know that Bo-Katan has been through a lot. We have seen firsthand through Clone Wars what she has gone through.
Yep.
I understand what she is fighting for, but like it's a little selfish and a little
And
childish. Like as
it's
long as
also
somebody
been years, right? It's been years.
it has been years, but in the same way of like if you are wanting a unified Mandalore, as long as there's a unified Mandalore and it's not completely going to shit, why would you mope and cry about it when it's not you leading them?
Because she wanted the rule because of her sister.
I understand. Yeah, yeah, totally understandable. Well, not totally understandable because I don't understand it.
Okay.
But like I'm saying, I understand why she wants it. But in regards to the greater picture of Mandalore and her people,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be her,
Yeah.
you know?
So yes, and we know Bo-Katan's gonna be back in the season because despite most of the trailer I feel like was from this episode. Would you agree,
The
disagree?
Yes, I would say that probably 90% of the trailer was from this episode.
The only thing that I remember distinctly being not from this episode was Bo-Katan's conversation with Grogu about goodness knows what, but I remember there being an ominous tone to that conversation. So we know she's gonna come back. Um, and everything's gonna line up, hopefully. So yeah, I'm interested to see where episode 2 is gonna go because I have no idea where it's gonna go. No idea.
Yeah, really, really excited about this. I think for me, one thing that we didn't mention in the news, which I think is non-news, but they actually did mention it in the episode. The whole Cara Dune thing. Oh, what happened to
Oh
her?
yeah,
And they were just like, "Oh, she's off doing Republic stuff. Don't know what
she's in
that is."
special operations.
Yeah, completely just and I said this in the sense of like, oh, like all the clickbait articles were like, oh, showrunners finally tell us how they're gonna deal with this problem. That's it's not a problem. You just act like it doesn't exist. Just like how you act like most of the canon books don't exist. How you treat like you have already used this tactic with so many things in Star Wars. You just act like
Oh,
she doesn't exist. Boom, we're done.
there's
Like Din Djarin didn't even have to mention her, and everybody would
yep.
have forgotten about her.
And there's 800 planets in the Star Wars universe cataloged right now. So we're only seeing what happens on one planet at a time, people.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that I did want to mention, is we know that Pedro Pascal does not physically perform uh, as Din Djarin all of the time. That is actually done by two stuntmen, Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder. And they do the majority of Din Djarin's acting on set. And they were finally actually credited in the episode instead of being listed as stunt performers. They're listed in the main
Wow.
credits. Yeah, I've got the screenshot in the show notes. But they were fully credited uh and vetted as performers in the cast and main performers. So props
And
to Disney for getting it right.
for those of you who don't know, Brendan Wayne is John Wayne's grandson, I do believe, or great grandson, one of those two. But he is related to the great John Wayne. So very cool there. Did not know that they actually credited him. I should have stayed for the credits. But again, I have a crazy 5 month old just finally starting to think about crawling around. So yeah. Um, with that, I believe that is it for the episode. A long, almost 2 hours. Uh, crazy, crazy stuff. Um, but of course, you can always find me at fanboyclay on Twitter. Like I said before, I think I accidentally blew up my Mastodon, so that no longer exists. I'll have to try and possibly just make another one. But you can always find my other shows, of course, on the network. Ranger Alliance, we just dropped an episode. Had to do it solo this time, but Jake promises that he will make it for the next one. And then, of course, the show that excuse me that I'm on that isn't on the network is Batman News Weekly. That was recorded today as well, and it will be up by the time you're listening to this on the 2nd of March.
um Y'all, you can find me on all the places. It's at Slice of Katie. If social media blows up, please locate my personal website. It's sliceofkatie.com, and that will tell you where I'm at. Where Slice of Film, my other show on the Geek Ultimate Podcast Network, will be, as well as Star Wars Alliance. Um, this show you can find on most social media platforms. It's Star Wars Alliance with the A in the Wars. Very important. Don't forget it. If you are interested in email us, if you are not on social media, you can reach out to us at that same username at gmail.com. Or you can text or call us on the hotline. It is 830-538-4828. And obviously, just remember if you reach out to us, you're giving us permission to kind of talk about it on the show. Um, and don't say anything bad. So,
Yes, with the voicemails and or with text messages, they will be vetted. We will check them before we just blase them all over this podcast. But remember, if you are calling, I will not answer. I will let it ring, and so you can leave a voicemail for us to listen to and play on the show. But we do appreciate it. If you guys are the type of individuals that either wake up really early to watch the episode or stay up to watch the episodes of Mandalorian or The Bad Batch, I welcome you to call and leave your reactions because I think it'll be a very fun thing to talk about.
yeah.
Especially, I would encourage you even more to do it with the finale of each of these shows because I feel like there is going to be a lot of talking points with each of these.
There's also going to be an episode coming up for the Bad Batch where you're probably going to want to talk about some things because it's a little hanky panky. Um, yes. So those are all the places to find us. Slice of Film you can find on Twitter. It's at Slice of Film 1. Next episode is top 2022 movies for Mark and I. So we went through our top 10 for 2022 and kind of some hopes and dreams for 2023 kind of. And then there should be another episode coming out as well. It'll be Creed 3. Uh Either that or a Mission Impossible. It depends on if I get to Creed 3 because I have to show Matt Creed 2 first. Anyways, yeah, so that about wraps us up. I'm going to be in the Geekverse chat a little bit, kind of talking about Night of a Thousand Tears for a little bit. So with that, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching, and we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.